Over the weekend, as many of you may know, Nintendo released a game called Mario 3D All-Stars. It's a collection of three of Nintendo's 3D platformers: Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. Initially, I was pretty excited because Super Mario 64 was one of my favorite games growing up, and I never got a chance to play Sunshine or Super Mario Galaxy. So I thought this was cool. Uh, uh, Opportunity for me to be able to get a hold of these games, particularly for the Nintendo Switch. Uh, However, what I was not aware of until I think Wednesday or Thursday of last week, which was that Nintendo is only releasing it as a limited time release, which I was not aware. But apparently, it's been known since September 3rd. Reported by Video Game Chronicles by Tom Ivan, Nintendo confirms Mario 3D All-Stars will only be on sale until March 2021. Both digital and physical versions are limited releases. Now, the physical version kind of makes more sense because you can't just keep printing out games ad infinitum. And the fact that it's for the 35th anniversary, at least I believe it is, kind of indicates that they kind of want to make it special. So I get that. It makes sense. But digitally, digitally doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't really cost them anything to keep it up on their servers for people to continue to buy and download. It's a very minimal cost. So it just seems kind of odd that they're making it a limited release only, particularly on the digital storefront. Nintendo has confirmed the newly announced Super Mario 3D All-Stars will only be on sale until March 2021, priced at $59.99 US and £49.99. 3D All-Stars is set for release on September 8th, which was yesterday. Although only so many copies will be available in stores, while the digital version will be removed from sale after some 6 months. So, again, this just seems kind of odd. Well, the following day, Screen Rant actually put out an article kind of speculating as to why. And I think they've got a pretty good, uh, pretty good understanding as to why it is the case. Screen Rant, as by Alexandra Sakalariu. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I apologize if I butcher your name. Uh, Why Mario 3D All-Stars is a limited time release only and when it ends. There's a reason Nintendo is releasing Super Mario 3D All-Stars in a limited window, and at the end of the day, it comes down to potentials. And the more I think about it, I think that really does make sense. Um, so she does explain Nintendo recently revealed Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection as a tribute to Mario's 35th anniversary. But it won't be available for long. Kind of goes over the same stuff that was reported in Video Game Chronicles. But what really matters is where we get down to here. Why is Super Mario 3D All-Stars only a time release? It's not only the fact that Super Mario 3D All-Stars is an anniversary collection that explains its exclusivity. By making it a limited time release, Nintendo likely hopes to increase its sales of Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Doing so fosters urgency among consumers who are left with knowledge early on that not only is there a limited window to purchase the collection, but there are limited quantities. Plus, it adds an air of exclusivity, knowing that some fans may not get their hands on copies of the collection. This encourages gamers to buy the collection as soon as possible for fear of it selling out, thereby encouraging higher sales. And I think this is true. This is actually makes a lot of sense. And now that we're past past the time of its release and seeing how quickly pre-orders sold out, um, seems to have worked. It's worked in their favor. This new strategy, this new strategy when it comes to video game releases, one that, if proved successful, could set a precedent for how Nintendo and possibly other developers release games. I think she's right, and I hate it. I hate that. We'll continue. But at the same time, it may leave players frustrated, especially if they feel pressure to buy into a collection simply because it's only available for a short window. And for me, that's very much how I feel. If Super Mario Brothers 35 is a big hit among Switch players, the fact that it will disappear after only 6 months may be a major grievance. Now, this is their other game, Super Mario Brothers 35, which is the Battle Royale version. They're basically taking the Tetris 99 model and applying it to Super Mario as a whole. Seems kind of an interesting idea. But I mean, because it's a new game and because it's kind of a gimmicky game, I'm actually okay with them only doing 6 months. It's basically an experiment, right? But for Super Mario 3D All Stars, it's not an experiment. It's re-releasing some games that people have loved for years. Um, Alexandra continues. The limited window for Super Mario 3D All Stars makes Nintendo appear determined to make a considerable profit in the last quarter of 2020 and in the first of 2021. When a company prioritizes its potential profit at the expense of consumer satisfaction, it doesn't usually reflect well. If this method of release is a flop, then it could be detrimental to the success of future Super Mario launches, but only time and consumer response will tell. I think there's some truth to that. Consumer response kind of is everything, and if people don't react well to the fact that they're actually selling it for a limited time, Nintendo may get the hint that actually this shouldn't be it shouldn't be released like this. But as you can see, as we'll get into later on, I don't think that's going to be the case. So, what does this actually mean? To be honest, it just seems like a cash grab, particularly as we get further into what they're actually releasing. They are trying to force you into making a decision very quickly into the release of this game and even the pre-release of this game to quickly buy it so that you don't miss out, so that you don't necessarily want to see how good it is before you get it. Just quickly get it as soon as you can, so that you're not one of the people who didn't get it, right? It's very manipulative, and in my opinion, it's emotional blackmail. It just seems like it's a poorly handled it's a poorly handled strategy, in my opinion. One that doesn't really care about its customers, or shows that Nintendo doesn't really care about its customers. Um, yeah. So this is kind of where I was talking about the quality of the product, right? So as I was, and I hadn't been paying attention to this last week, but as I heard that it was going to be a limited release, I was thinking to myself, well, why would they want to do that as a limited release? Um, and reading that first article, them pretty much trying to pressure you into buying the game as quick as possible, makes me think that there's a reason why they're doing it, and maybe it's because they didn't release the best quality product that they could. And then Screen Rant released this 4 days ago. Super Mario 3D All Stars has already leaked, proving players' theory. Copies of Super Mario 3D All Stars has leaked online, and it has confirmed that the three games are all being run via emulation. This is Scott Baird, by the way, from Screen Rant. Again, this is from 4 days ago, so I say it was like Thursday. But these are emulations, right? Copies of Super Mario 3D All Stars have leaked online, and fans have confirmed the theory regarding the games. It seems that they're all emulated. Super Mario All Stars is a fast approaching Nintendo Switch collection containing Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy, all in one place for the first time for the not so low price of $60. Full price game. Super Mario 3D All Stars was announced during the recent Mario 35th Anniversary Direct, and it quickly drew ire from some fans for a number of reasons. The high price tag for the content on offer has been one concern, and I think that for me is also part of the problem. If this was like a full remake, I could understand. Like if they at least, like even if they emulated Super Mario Galaxy. But if they did like a full-on remake of Super Mario 64 and did a whole bunch of tweaks for Super Mario Sunshine, I think it would have been worth the full price, right? Because then they would have done a lot of work to really quality visually and potentially in terms of gameplay. Well, I mean, how much better can you get with Super Mario 64? You get what I'm saying. They would have done a lot of work to really upgrade the game to modern standards. And that would then justify the full price tag of $60, right? But if they're just emulations, I think a $40 tag seems a lot more appropriate. That's my opinion, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Back to it. The high price tag for the content on offer has been one concern, as is the fact that collection is missing Super Mario Galaxy 2. I think that's also a big point. When they released the previous Super Mario All-Stars back in, for the Super Nintendo, and they basically packaged all the games that had come out previously in terms of Super Mario. So Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, The Lost Levels, and Super Mario Brothers 3, all packaged into one package that had been essentially a remake or a retooling to upgrade it for the Super Nintendo. Whereas this is just an emulation, and it's missing one of the games. It's missing one of the previous games. Technically, it's missing two of the previous games, right? Super Mario 3D, 3D World, but that's also partly because they're actually releasing that separately. But that's another together. But yeah, the fact that it's missing Super Mario Galaxy 2 with no regard for any future release, re-release of the game. The fact that Super Mario 3D All-Stars is receiving an extremely limited release is also a huge concern for fans. It seems that Nintendo is intentionally creating scarcity for the game digitally. Yeah, that is, and again, that was my concern initially when I first heard about that. It's an artificial scarcity created by Nintendo to try and force sales on people quicker, forcing them to make the choice to actually buy it. Super Mario 3D All-Stars is due to release in a few days. Copies have already leaked into the wild. This has given fans a chance to dig through the files of the game in search of secrets. According to Forest Evolution on Twitter, it has now been proven that all of the games in the collection are emulated. Their screenshots of the game files also revealed a folder, a game called Lazy Texture Replays. I don't know. I don't know how accurate that is. Maybe this is just somebody's tweaking the image of the game folders, but I mean that's a bit of a yikes for me because I mean it kind of shows Nintendo's own idea of how they're really wanting to actually put out this release, which is put as little work in and pretty much be as lazy as possible and try and maximize profit as much as they can. Which might speak to volumes as to how Nintendo developers were instructed to approach these ports, some of which are outshined by unofficial fan remasters. Yeah. Here are the screenshots from Forest Evolution. Super Mario 3D All-Stars just leaked. Seems like they're all emulated. Here's Super Mario 64, thanks to must be another I'm not even going to try and pretend to pronounce that. But anyway, yeah, here are the textures. And then here's the actual lazy texture replace. Gets from here. Database, Gecko, lazy texture replace saves, texture replace. Yeah. So it's not. So Super Mario 3D All-Stars has already been criticized for its seemingly lazy menu design. And it should come as no surprise that Nintendo is releasing more emulated games. This is the same company that released Super Mario All-Stars from the Super Nintendo on a Nintendo Wii disc for one of the previous anniversary series. So, yeah. This seems to be an ongoing trend with Nintendo trying to push as much, particularly with Mario, trying to push as much as they can without having to do that much work. It's not exactly a new thing, but I mean, this just seems like a big cash grab for them, in my opinion, particularly with how little work that they've had to do to actually set it up. Let's just see if there's anything. Nope, that was the end of the article. This then brings me to the next one, and I think this article here actually speaks a lot to how I'm feeling with what Nintendo is doing. This is from Ventura Beat, Jeff Grubb. Super Mario 3D All-Stars is Nintendo at its worst. And this is actually from yesterday. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was more than what Nintendo delivered with Super Mario 3D All-Stars. This bundle is available now on the Nintendo Switch eShop and at retail, if you can find it, for $60. I bought it last night, and it's reminding me of how calculated and aloof Nintendo often is. Super Mario 3D All-Stars is ostensibly a celebration of Super Mario's 35th anniversary, but instead it feels Nintendo is celebrating how easy it is for them to squeeze more money out of its most dedicated. And I think that is really the crux of the matter, is that it is Nintendo pretty much trying to squeeze as much as they can out of their fan base, and particularly people like myself who, had I had I not actually seen the limited release and gotten somewhat irritated with it, I would have bought it. I would have happily bought it and played it, and I really enjoyed it. But now I don't know. Um, yeah. As GameBeat reviews editor Mike Minotti explained in his appraisal, it's difficult to feel anything but joy playing these games. Some of the most talented creators in the world designed Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy with the explicit goal of making players smile. All that still works, mostly. Nintendo did find some ways to slightly spoil play experience for me, so in a way, the package is worse than games just 3 straight ports. Now, he goes on to talk about how he doesn't like the fact that they got rid of inverted camera, something that Nintendo basically had created, a style of camera control that Nintendo set up and created. More popular option of, just up is up, down is down in terms of the camera. I get that. I mean, I think he might be a little too harsh when it comes to that, but it does seem like a pretty lackluster collection of compilations. It's really just for them, just a matter of let's upscale some of the UI to make sure it fits properly on the screen, and then just hit build on Switch's game engine, whatever the heck it is they use. I'm sure it's actually fairly easy to port, particularly as they've already ported Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy multiple times before, or at least once before with Mario Galaxy. But I know that they've done it with Super Mario 64 a couple times. And Jeff Grubb actually mentions this here as well. Lowest effort for the maximum amount of rewards. Super Mario 3D All-Stars only happens because it can. What I mean by that is that the game will sell regardless of what Nintendo does with it. The company looked at the math and realized it can make more money by coming up with a scarcity scheme than by investing in the actual experience. A lot of truth to that. So instead of improving visuals akin to the Crash Bandicoot remakes, or even including camera toggle options, clearly he's a little hung up on that, the company emphasized that the game will vanish from store shelves and digital eShop on March 31st of 2021. Who has the time to worry about little things when you know the game is available for only a time? If you hesitate, you're going to miss out on it, and it's a cynical ploy. It is. It's a very cynical ploy. It is, and this it was my concern when I first heard that it's going to be limited. Are they not going to put out a good quality game? Is this why they're making it scarce? Is this why they're saying we're going to make sure that players buy this regardless of what quality we put it out? So what we're going to do is we're going to say this isn't available for you to buy whenever you want. No. You have to make this decision within these 6 months. And if you don't make this decision within these 6 months, you are going to miss out. And as I was saying earlier, that is extremely manipulative, particularly with the fact that it is pretty much just a shoved together compilation with very little bells and whistles, particularly as it's for the 35th anniversary of Super Mario. You'd expect some sort of, developer commentary, or some sort of, looking at concept art, or looking, something a little bit more a little bit more showing that they actually care about the customers, and just here's an extremely basic UI that lets you choose the game, and then here's just the game as it is emulated Switch. That's it. Nothing special. Particularly as it is for a special event. So it just seems like a slap in the face for myself. But I mean, the saddest thing is that he brings this up Jeff Grubb actually brings up the next point: is that Nintendo actually doesn't need to change. They can get away with this. Um, the fundamental problem is that Nintendo knows what it can get away with. It can do the bare minimum and get away with it. And I don't know if it will ever really pay a price for that. It hasn't so far. It's only selling more games and consoles as the Switch matures. So I guess I'm writing this politely ask the company to do better in the future, even though it doesn't have to. Nintendo built modern gaming after the industry's early crash, and a key attribute that enabled it to revive games was a focus on pushing past the merely passable. The company didn't make decisions by looking at a spreadsheet and working backward uh, from trying to get the biggest return on the lowest possible investment. It let artists create and put themselves in the player's shoes. So here's the thing. I actually kind of disagree with this. But he's right that Nintendo built modern gaming industry after the early 80s crash. But part of the reason why they actually built it and were so successful with it is because they actually used a similar business model. They used actually a very similar business model. It's not quite to the same scarcity as what they're trying to create here, but I mean, they did actually produce that with their own consoles and with their own games. They put out limited numbers to ensure that they weren't overstretching themselves in terms of uh, producing physical copies of all these games, such that if a game didn't sell well, they didn't over create. Um, Therefore didn't lose out a whole bunch of profits. Nintendo was very smart and very shrewd because, again, it came out of that video game crash in the 80s. So it makes sense. But the problem is that we're well past that, and we're now in a time when games can sell digitally. You can buy old games from decades ago and be able to actually play it and enjoy it, and despite the fact that it is an older game, because again, when you sell it digitally, the actual cost to actually allow the digital copy to exist and then download is actually fairly minimal compared to actually producing physical copies. And I think that's the reason why there's actually quite a push from current console makers, Xbox and Sony, particularly with Sony creating a digital only version of the PlayStation 5 to actually move more digital, because it actually is more cost effective and you can allow games to exist for a lot longer. People have to try and fight to try and get games when they're no longer in production. So this is why I think it's so weird that Nintendo is now saying, well, we're going to now create an artificial scarcity by not allowing you to buy the game anymore digitally. It just seems like, again, a slap in the face, emotional manipulation, and blackmail. Try and get you to buy the game, particularly when you don't know the quality of the game. Right now, we are kind of aware in this case the quality of the games. Right, we know that Super Mario 64 and Galaxy were probably two of the best Super Mario games out there, particularly of the past Super Mario's. I really loved Odyssey. I think that's probably my new favorite, but that's another point. But Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy were definitely two of the best previous Super Mario games out there, and so we know that the quality of that is good. But like as I said before, the quality of the collection, the fact that they're just simple emulations with some slight UI improvements, that's really not a 35th anniversary collection worth talking about, in my opinion. And here's the other thing, I think, to his point, the fact that Nintendo doesn't need to change. Most of the reviews actually do, they point out the fact that it's a bare minimum thing, but a bare minimum collection, but they point out that it's still worth getting. Go get it. According to a lot of these reviews, you look at Eurogamer, um, their review 3D Mario All Stars, the three greatest games in one lackluster compilation. Super Mario 3D All Stars remasters emulation or a mixture of both. Super Mario 3D All Stars for the Switch, barely enough, but still a must. Ars Technica, Super Mario 3D All Stars, a bare bones nostalgia warp zone. It's no more and no less than three of the best 3D platformers ever made. But again, I think the only review that I saw that actually covered the fact that it's a limited time release and actually brings up the fact that it's kind of a horrible, horrible idea that they're actually doing that is CNET. CNET's review of it by Jackson Ryan. Super Mario 3D All-Stars Review Classic Mario, but not like you remember. The 3 Mario games in one package is an enticing proposition, but ends up a hollow and unfulfilled experience. I've never lived on a planet without Mario. The star of the Super Mario series turns 35 this year, and I'm one. That makes him and the dozens of Super Mario games he stars in convenient checkpoints. Convenient checkpoints for my life when I was 5 years old. Dressed my pants playing Super Mario World. Mario 64 was shared between my brother and an unexpected new challenger vying for valuable playtime. Stepbrother, Super Mario Sunshine. So he goes on to say how much he loves it. Nintendo's new Super Mario game, which is out now, isn't really a Super Mario game at all. Super Mario 3D All-Stars is a $60 collection for the Nintendo Switch. Features 3 of the most lauded 3D Mario games of all time. Our sister site GameSpot reviewed them all favorably when they were first released. Super Mario 64 got a 9.4. Super Mario Sunshine, the black sheep of the 3D games, got an 8. Mario Galaxy for the received a 9.5. Those kinds of scores are why there's so much hype around the collection. I get why people are excited to play Super Mario All-Stars, even if it doesn't include Galaxy 2. Alone, they are a trio of great games, impeccably designed, highlights of their generation. They mark important milestones in Mario's 3D life and my life. To viewer. But here in the cold light of 2020, they are simply an exercise in memory. Memories are fickle things. They flicker to life, then disappear. Before you can fully grasp them, there's a tendency, the best parts of the video games like Super Mario Galaxy or Super Mario Sunshine, to ossify in your mind, and the worst parts to melt away. Once you forget about a thing, eventually you forget that you forgot about that thing. Very true. So it's very much a nostalgia thing. And even here, he says it's perfect for the Switch. Galaxy is nowhere near as good as I remember. In fact, in 2020, I would argue it's not a very good game. Wow. Wow, he actually takes it a lot more negative than I thought. Before 3D All-Stars was released, I read up some of the... Gosh, don't exit, please. I read up some of the discourse around Galaxy from 2007. In my head, it's an absolute masterclass. Did my memory play tricks on me, or have I changed? Probably that is that you changed, right? The part he mentions in here that it was part of the reason why he's somewhat, yeah, here it is, the money printer. Nintendo is going to make a lot of money from Super Mario 3D All-Stars, already the second most popular game on Amazon for 2020, trailing only Animal Crossing. It's a guaranteed success, and Nintendo have upped the ante a little by making this collection a limited release. You can't buy it after March 2021. Why? Well, there's no real explanation. With the revelations prior to release, these games are all being emulated. It's almost certain Nintendo has other plans to distribute these games to the Switch in the future. I don't know about that. This is his speculation. My speculation is that that's actually not going to be the case, but we'll see. What's fascinating about this collection is just how obvious Nintendo's play is here. The marketing materials are a laundry list of empty platitudes. Nintendo, Japanese gaming giant renowned for being fiercely protective of its IP, is happy to just push out a Mario collection with slightly smoother polygons and call it a day. It's happy to make the package feel like a commodity you won't be able to get in the future. These games are supposed to be in good old days. Yeah. So yeah, it just seems like they're taking their fan base a little for granted, and unfortunately, it's working. As I said, pre-order sales have sold out already, as reported by IGN. Chris Reed, Super Mario 3D All Stars is back in stock in physical edition, and the better news is that it's out now. While we don't have details for just how many units Nintendo is printing, the physical version pre-orders had initially sold out, and I believe they're still sold out. But they're back, although it's tough to say just how long they'll last. So, unfortunately, it's clearly working for Nintendo. This is unfortunately a short-term gimmick to try and increase sales in the short term, and I think, to be honest, I don't know. I was going to say I think this might hurt them in the long run, but I actually don't know anymore. Nintendo might be able to get away with whatever the heck they want, but I know for me, I don't think I'm going to pick up Super Mario 3D All-Stars because of this emotional manipulation. I'm I'm one of those people where if I see any sort of manipulation, trying to manipulate me to doing something that I may or may not want to do, I'm immediately gonna move away from that. So Nintendo trying to manipulate me and manipulate, its millions of fans around the world into buying this game as soon as possible. It seems like, at least for me, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to fall into that trap uh, unless they make a change and make it available everywhere. Or not everywhere, but make it available past March 2021 and not just take it off the store marketplace. I'm not going to buy it. And if you feel the same way, I would probably suggest you not buying it too. Um, so yeah, that's it for me, guys. Appreciate you watching, and yeah, this is Green Leader signing out.